Good morning and welcome to the Met Report. It's Friday, December 6th. I'm Noah Block.
And I'm Laryss Rodriguez. Thank you all for joining us today. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started.
While students were off campus during the holiday, one of our area's most important buildings suffered damage due to a water main break, just days ahead of finals week.
This comes at a very unfortunate time, with students completing their most significant workload of the semester. Our reporter Luke Maestas has more on the story.
I'm standing outside the Plaza building, which houses the Aurora Health Center. Over the holiday, the building suffered a water main break, which has sent hundreds of classrooms and doctor's appointments to a remote setting just ahead of finals week. If the last 2 weeks of the semester weren't hard enough, the last thing you should be saying is, "Where's my class?" Classes that were in the Plaza building have been moved to places all around the Aurora campus or to a remote setting, like this political theory class, which did not receive any notice to where they can continue an in-person class setting until the very first day after coming back from Thanksgiving.
But yeah, my very first class is in the Plaza building, and it's not political science, but psychology.
Psychology.
And then I go into the King Center, and then I have 2 more in there in the afternoon.
And it's not just classes. The Plaza building houses the Aurora Health Center, where tons of doctor's appointments had to be moved to over the phone. In a study done by Statista, in the 2023 cold and flu season, 34% of college students reported that they were ill with respiratory viruses, making this semester's closure a challenge to seek the in-person care that some students may need.
I think it's a huge hurdle, because now you're trying to balance, like, oh, something's happened that I need to go in for, and you have to go, okay, I can't get in the building. I have to figure out where the heck I'm going. You don't know how severe anything is going on half the time. Like, if you get sick, you're just like, I'm sick. I need somebody to tell me what's going on. So you're probably panicking, freaking out, and you need to, come up with, where am I going? What am I doing? What's my alternatives? And it can be a huge problem.
For many students, already balancing academic pressures and personal responsibilities, and accessible resources supplied by the Aurora Health Center not available only adds on to the stress. Now, we don't have a clear exact date to when the building's set to open next semester, but for the time being, you're asked to make those doctor's appointments over telecast, and if it's a life-threatening emergency, call 911. For the Met Report, I'm Luke Maestas reporting from the Plaza building.
The MSU Denver Faculty Senate recently voted to reject a proposal to create a 90-credit bachelor's degree program, in addition to the already 120-credit system. The idea, which would still be termed a bachelor's degree, was put forward by the Higher Learning Commission, the national organization responsible for accrediting colleges and universities in the U.S., as an alternative for schools interested in new ways to award diplomas. In a letter to the Colorado Department of Higher Education, the Senate voiced concerns about such a shift, including a potential decrease in career readiness and a disappropriate targeting of working class and first-generation students, arguing that in its place, a new type of 3-year degree could be created separate from a bachelor's degree.
The Fall 2024 BFA Thesis Exhibition is nearing the end of its showcase, which began on November 1st and will last through this week until tomorrow, December 7th. The exhibition showcases the work of 23 graduating artists and designers from MSU Denver at the Center for Visual Arts, located in Denver's vibrant art district on Santa Fe. The exhibition explores themes like identity, mental health, and the intersection of tradition with contemporary technology through diverse media, including sculpture, painting, digital design, and photography. Through exhibits like Bambi Hernandez's exploration of queer identity and displacement, and Zoe Claire Pendleton's deep dive into the science of journaling, the work offers a glimpse into the culmination of years of creative work and growth for studio art and communication design students. And now the CVA is calling all alumni to submit their work to the Reconnect 2025 MSU Denver Alumni Exhibition. Submissions are open now until December 9th. Don't miss your chance to be part of this special showcase next May.
This year saw quite a bit of political unrest at MSU Denver, most notably a series of sit-in protests in the spring and summer against U.S. funding for Israel as a humanitarian crisis continues in Gaza.
That's right, Laryss, and it wasn't just our classmates who got involved in these demonstrations. I was fortunate enough to have the chance to interview a faculty member who almost went to jail for defending his students' right to assembly. Let's take a look. If you were on campus this past spring, you probably saw the encampments that happened right here on the Tivoli Quad. They were aimed at MSU's contracts with the arms manufacturers who sell weapons to Israel, and they resulted in numerous arrests. Most of the people detained were students, but at least 3 were faculty of the Auraria campus. Dr. Alex Bedrukis, who specializes in Middle Eastern studies, was arrested on several charges, including failure to obey a police officer.
At the time, my temporary office was in the basement of the Tivoli building. And so when I was walking to that meeting, I'd noticed what seemed to be signs of police presence. And so when our meeting ended, a number of us, we were actually from our faculty union, walked towards the Tivoli Quad. And by the time we arrived, we could see kind of a bunch of riot police lined up facing a line of students on the grass. We were very concerned about the safety of the students, and that the situation could kind of spin out of control or get dangerous. And so we ended up joining the students and sitting down in the hope that it would de-escalate the situation and prevent things from escalating.
The professor expressed worries about the safety of students and faculty at higher education institutions across the country, particularly Muslims, Palestinian Americans, and other people of color.
A professor whose wife I actually know at WashU in St. Louis was thrown to the ground by St. Louis police. They broke a bunch of his ribs. The injuries could have been life-threatening. We were lucky nothing like that happened here.
And on the topic of whether genocide is taking place in Gaza right now, the professor was firm.
There's something called the Middle East Studies Barometer. So it's a regular poll of scholars in the field of Middle East studies. It's very useful because it gives you a sense of what the consensus is amongst scholars in the field on any given issue. The poll asked scholars of Middle East studies how they would describe what is currently happening in Gaza. 75% of the scholars polled said they would describe it as either genocide or war crimes tantamount to genocide. So while those terms are framed as extremely controversial, I'd say, in the mainstream discourse, they are widely accepted by scholars.
Bedrukis' charges have since been dropped, but in the meantime, he continues to speak out about what he sees as a lack of action on the part of the U.S. government to demand a ceasefire.
The U.S. has enabled all of this, right? The fact that the U.S. has made it clear it will continue to arm the Israeli state, even as the Netanyahu administration gets unpopular with its own people, right? Even though the war is not achieving its aims. The willingness for the U.S. to continue to basically give Israel a blank check has made the situation far worse. And the U.S. has played a longer-term role in this, right? So calling for a two-state solution, but doing virtually nothing to bring an end to Israeli settlement activity. So I think one reason why these protests and why it's so important in the United States to be knowledgeable and aware, and why these protests were so significant, is that I cannot see this happening without the United States being a central player.
For the Met Report, I'm Noah Block. The city's college scholarship program failed to apply all recommendations for improvement, and after more than a year, Denver auditors raised concerns about the oversight, data, and management of the college affordability program. On November 21st, auditors had a meeting to discuss the significant leadership turnover since the original audit in July 2023, causing some implementation delays to the Prosperity Denver Fund. Out of 8 original recommendations of auditors that supervise the Prosperity Denver Fund program, only 2 were partially implemented. Ongoing issues include improper reimbursements and unverified student eligibility for scholarships. The Prosperity Denver Fund has several improvements underway, such as auditors starting to emphasize stronger oversight, including desk audits.
Don't go away, we've got plenty more after the break.
Stay tuned.
With Kroenke Sports and Entertainment slated for a brand new development across the street at Denver's Ball Arena, the Kroenke family has committed $500,000 to the Auraria community. The 64-acre development was approved by Denver City Council on October 21st, offering an affordable living space, public transportation, and other community engagement opportunities to connect Denver with their local sport teams. KSE forged this agreement in efforts to support local communities, including providing aid for displaced Irarians and a $25,000 donation to MSU Denver's Indigenous and Native Peoples Grant, as well as the University of Colorado Denver's American Indian Scholarship Fund.
Over here at the Met Report, we have had quite an extensive history of making our content through a traditional TV news format.
That's right, Noah, but this past semester, we have made more content for our socials, detailing exclusive stories that never made it here on our broadcast, or updating you with all the latest election results.
It's safe to say that a lot of newscasts are following the same direction and uploading onto their own social media pages. So why is that? Why are there more people wanting to view stories on social media?
Our reporter, Tyson Sintas, dove deep and investigated this trend of people wanting to get their news on social media. Rather than in other formats, this is what he found.
Swipe, scroll, like, share. That's how a lot of students around campus get their news. Gone are the days of TV being the top format for people to trust and consume their news. So what happened? Why in the past 10 or so years has there been a huge trend in people getting their news exclusively on social media? I looked into this trend and saw what created this rise of popularity, as well as what news stations in Colorado are doing to ride along this trend.
If you feel like you've been seeing more news stations appear on your For You page on Instagram or TikTok, you're not alone. News stations all around the world in the past few years have been sharing more stories on their social media platforms due to people not watching their broadcasts anymore. In fact, according to Pew Research Center, in 2024, 58% of U.S. adults prefer to get their news online through their smartphones, tablets, computers, or anywhere on the internet. In contrast, only 32% of U.S. adults prefer to get the news through traditional TV newscasts. A few other factors were in play as well. Traditional newscasts have been criticized for being too repetitive with the traditional one or two person format. There is also the criticization of the format being too consistent and predictable over the decades of it being used.
Although there are some benefits of using traditional format for TV, more and more people are only going to go to social media. Therefore, stations need to make some adjustments. For one, cutting all sorts of traditional content will be needed, considering this is a new format. It will not work here. Journalists need to follow trends and find new ways to present information in a vertical format perfect for smartphones. Secondly, it may be better to present news exclusively on social media rather than teasing your audience on a website or newscast. A huge majority of people will never click on any additional links in the day and age of people wanting information instantaneously.
I spoke with KOAA's News Channel 5's investigative reporter Allison Zimmerman, who uses social media regularly to share her stories. She explains how she uses both TV and social media to share her stories.
Now, I think the conversations that we're having are, how do we tell a story that works for our linear product, but also works for social media and how people are consuming news? And this has been more of a personal thing for me, but I think all newsrooms are encouraging people to use social media as a resource, not as the primary, because people are figuring out how to monetize it too. And so, but for me, I've been trying to look at, okay, what content do I consume on social media? And I know probably like elders in the business are rolling in their grave that I'm calling it content, but I think of it of what do I like to consume? How do I like to consume my news? And how do I tell my stories in a way that people my age and people younger, because those are the people that we've got to get interested in consuming news, how are they going to resonate with this? So,
will newscasts be able to adapt to this new trend? Only time can tell. But the resources are there. Ignoring this trend will only force newscasts to share information to fewer and fewer viewers, no matter how well each package may be. I am Tyson Sintas with the Met Report.
Tomorrow is Denver's annual Parade of Lights. It will be taking place with some disruptions to bus and train services. The parade's route will start on 14th and Bannock Street and go through downtown in the Tremont, 17th, Arapahoe, 15th, and Glenarm Streets. The delay will start from 3 p.m. and end at 9:30 p.m. to accommodate more of the festivities. Bus routes that will be affected include the 0, 6, 8, 10, 15 Al, the free mall ride, and others. The train stations on both 16th and 18th Streets, as well as Stout in California, will be closed for the event. The D and H line trains will end at the Theater District station from 3 to 9:30 p.m. The L line will stop giving services at 3 p.m. and will resume on Sunday, December 8th. If you take this train, RTD recommends to take Bus 43 as an alternative. To see all affected routes, you can check out the RTD website at www.rtd-denver.com.
Coming up next, we've got Cecilia with politics.
And Brandi with sports, so stick around.
Hello everyone, I'm Cecilia Perez-Najera with all the latest news in politics. Let's see what's been going on from here to Washington, D.C. Starting off with Joe Biden, with only a few weeks left of his presidency. Last Sunday, he released a public statement that he was pardoning his son, Hunter Biden. Hunter had been convicted of 3 felony charges after lying to buy a revolver back in 2018, as well as 9 tax evasion charges filed separately in September. Biden received criticism after repeatedly stating throughout his presidency that he was not going to, quote, interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making. But on December 1st, the president made a public statement explaining that as a father, he could not stay arms crossed after his son allegedly was treated unfairly due to his relationship to Biden, saying, no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion other than that Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. On Wednesday night, the Colorado Black Legislative Caucus met to discuss their policies. Our reporter Maya Intep went down there to check it out. Here's what he found.
I'm actually in downtown Denver where the Black Legislative Caucus is giving their policy overview. This is their opportunity to connect with constituents and let us know what policies we can look out for in the 2025 legislative session. I was able to listen in on the policymakers. Let's hear what they had to say. The Colorado Democratic Black Legislative Caucus convened in downtown Denver to share their bold vision for 2025, a year they say is focused on building a stronger, fair Colorado. The caucus highlighted their commitment to keeping Colorado welcoming and inclusive, and they've also outlined a series of key goals aimed at addressing the challenges families face in Colorado every day, specifically making sure Coloradans can afford basics like groceries and childcare, while ensuring every child has access to quality education, stating that the future of Colorado starts with investing in its families and children. I was able to interview Colorado Senate President James Coleman.
For me, the issues have always been focusing on our youth development, workforce, and economic opportunity. We know that a lot of people are hurting right now in Colorado and across the country, and my job is to make sure that we make life a little bit better for everybody. Being able to afford groceries, being able to have access to high-quality schools, being able to heat your home and have running water. These are all critical things we all need. So I'm excited to do that work, and thank you for the opportunity to serve.
The caucus also plans on championing initiatives to grow Colorado's economic opportunities, strengthen healthcare access, and reduce disparities in care. In addition, the caucus plans to continue their work on justice reform with a focus on transparency and accountability. In a show of unity and shared commitment to these goals, members of the Colorado Young Democrats and the Denver Urban League joined the caucus to show their support and engage directly with Colorado voters and constituents.
What happened to my vote questions out there, and I want to let you know that if you're excited about the results, then obviously voting does work. If you're disappointed about the election, then that just means that we have more work to do.
The message to young voters is not to browbeat people, not to be disappointed, but to go out and talk to your colleagues, to your friends, your family members, and tell them why you registered and why you voted. And that's my challenge to you.
You are not alone. A lot of us were not expecting these results and didn't get the answers that we really wanted. A lot of us are afraid for our future, but that is not a reason to give up.
Stay tuned to Met TV as these priorities go into actions in the upcoming legislative session.
The Colorado legislature will be in recess until next year, but their work during this year's session will be going into effect on January 1st. Here's what you need to know. One new law will bar Coloradans from holding or using cell phones while driving. First offenders will pay $75 and lose 2 points off their license, and repeat offenders will see steeper fees. Continuing with cars, parents are now required to keep their children in booster seats until 9 years of age. The previous requirement was 8 years old. Turning to food, starting next year, all eggs sold in the state will have to be cage-free. This law originally passed in 2020, but has been rolled out in stages over the last few years. For Colorado gun owners, a new ban on leaving firearms unattended in vehicles without properly securing them first. And 13 other laws will take effect in January. To learn more, please visit leg.colorado.gov. Well, that's all we have this week for politics. We'll see you next semester with more news, but don't tune out just yet because we still have Brandi Rose with sports.
Hello everyone, I'm Brandi Rose, here to bring you all the important updates in the world of sports. Let's get the ball rolling. MSU Denver women's volleyball just clinched their second RMAC title in 3 years and are gearing up to compete in the NCAA Division II tournament, having posted another standout season. Our reporter Alex Petrich went down to the Auraria Event Center to hear from the team as they continue their dominant run. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I would say our culture is really important to our team. We have a lot of different aspects to our culture, but I would say our unity is really important on this team. We're definitely a unit and we like to do everything together, good or bad. So like when we're all on it, we're all on it. And I think that our love for each other is also really important and we play for each other and that's what makes us so good. So.
Pressure is a privilege. At least that's how the Roadrunners approach it. They're currently 27-2, 14-0 in conference play, second ranked in the South Central Division II poll. High praise. But the focus is not on the rarefied air that they occupy. It's on Texas Women's College, who they face tonight in round 1 of the NCAA Division II tournament in San Angelo, Texas.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we do get that title, and being highly ranked is really cool, and I think it does boost our confidence a little bit just knowing that we are pretty good, but I think it doesn't play too much of a role. Like, it's nice to know and celebrate, but I think just keep pushing and working hard and continuing that no matter what ranking or title we have is what we focus on.
This year's team continues the trend of stellar volleyball being played at Metro, as in the last 9 years, the Roadrunners have won 80% of their games, 90% in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, and at the helm for the last 9 years, head coach Jenny Glenn, talking about the character of her team.
I think it's like a function of last year's team and this year's kind of just extended. It was just like that love can be strong. I know that sounds crazy, but that love doesn't have to be soft, and it's actually really fierce, and we can love each other well and we can go out and compete really, really hard, and that makes it a fun group to be around. You know, that we can show up for each other when things are hard, or you know, when somebody in our program is facing crisis, but we can also show up for them on the volleyball court when things aren't going well. And how do we press into that, and how do we show up for each other? And I think they continue to show me a different way of doing things, you know, maybe than the way that I've always done it or always thought, and how to leverage that and use it for all of our good.
The Roadrunners have amassed 8 RMAC tournament championships, including this year, defeating Colorado Christian 3-0 on November 23rd. And with numerous Coach and Player of the Year awards, it's been one of the most impressive runs in Division II women's volleyball history. After last year's loss to Regis in the RMAC final, the team has stayed the course, committed to themselves and each other as they face the postseason again.
I mean, I just want to shout out the coaches. They do harp a lot on having that culture and unity. I think unity is a big piece of who we are and like our identity, and like we just count on each other, and we basically are like a family. So that helps a lot because we have those relationships built outside the court, so it makes it easier to be bonded with the girls inside the court too. So
for the Roadrunners, pressure is a privilege, and for all of us at Metro, it is a privilege to watch them play. For the Met Report, I'm Alex Petrich.
Basketball season at MSU is finally back, and your Lady Roadrunners just played in their first RMAC game of the season. Last year's season was a bit rocky for the team, but they have high hopes as they head into the 24-25 season. As of right now, the team is 1-5 with some early season jitters. Their one dub was against Seattle Pacific with a nail-biting score of 57-56. Some key players we saw on the court that stood out were junior guard Michaela Espinoza with 12 points, 3 steals, and 4 rebounds, as well as freshman guard Nevaeh Millard, who came out hot with 10 points and 3 steals. The ladies played last night against Fort Lewis, losing to the Skyhawks 74-66. Their next RMAC matchup will take place tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Alamosa against Adams State, where they look to get back in the win column. Speaking of basketball, the men are back on the court to face RMAC competition. The Birds recap their preseason play with a win against the 17th-ranked St. Martin Saints and a blowout win against the Northern New Mexico Eagles. This past Saturday's game against the Eagles showcased what the Roadrunners bench had to offer. Redshirt freshman Landon Brown got the chance to score 5 of his first college points, and redshirt freshman Jackson McAdams added 7 points to his college resume. The two new Roadrunners helped defeat the Eagles 85-60, giving the Birds a sharp start heading into RMAC conference play. Head coach Dan Fickey couldn't have been prouder of the two freshmen showing up and off of the bench and making every minute count. Here's what Coach Fickey had to say.
And that's for us, that's where it starts, is on the defensive end. You know, we talk a lot about defend, rebound, run. You know, if we don't get stops, we don't get rebounds, we can't run and play in transition. So the better we are on the defensive end, I think the more opportunities we can get to score and how we trick the guys into playing harder defense. But no, this group has really bought into it. You know, we talked a lot after last season that we could score with anyone in the RMAC, but our defense was too inconsistent.
From youth hockey rinks to the college stage, two MSU Denver Roadrunners are proving the old saying true. Birds of a feather really do stick together. And I got the chance to chat with them about what makes their bond so special. Let's check it out.
It was our second year, 14U, at Highland Hills, playing together on a team in Bantam A. It's kind of where we met, started playing together.
It just worked out super well, and we became really good friends after that. So.
MSU Denver captains TJ McLeod and Matthew Clift first met on the ice of the Westminster Promenade. Their journey starting with the Highland Hills Jaguars, a local youth team, where their quick connection turned into a lifelong bond.
We won a lot of championships together and all that, so definitely having that kind of to look back on was definitely a good memory, between me and him.
You don't really win that many championships, so when you do, you have to enjoy it, and that was probably one of my favorite years I've ever played.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah.
From there, they continued their hockey journey together, deciding to move to Fort Myers to play junior hockey with the Florida Eels.
A poke check across the slot. Cliff deking shot and a goal!
Playing on the same team with him for 4 or 5 years, or 4 years at that time, I don't know, it was just kind of a no-brainer.
It made it a lot easier for us to all kind of mesh together as a team down there with us and our other friends that we already had there.
Their strong chemistry on and off the ice eventually led both of them to become leaders for MSU Denver's hockey team.
McLeod spins and he scores! TJ McLeod!
Turnover here, Cliff on the puck with a move, and he scores!
I was still undecided at the time where I wanted to go, and I
was
Clifty was
also
too.
undecided.
And my dad ran into Brady, the head coach, randomly one day and told him that I was looking for a place to play. He called me immediately, and then he was kind of playing tug of war with me and Clifty. He was like, well, one of you, the other one's going to sign, the other one's going to sign. So he was waiting for one of us to commit because then he knew he would get the other one.
He did the same to me. He told me TJ was committing in February and didn't commit until July.
Yeah.
Their success at the collegiate level can be attributed to their strong bond and shared passion for the sport they fell in love with as children.
Trying to adjust to new line mates all the time and not knowing what their tendencies are, where they're going to be all the time. So coming back here, playing with TJ, being on a familiar line, again, was definitely made it a lot more fun.
The main factor that kind of drove me here was that he told me I was going to be playing with him.
Yeah.
And growing up playing with him, it was always enjoyable. We were always on the same line. We produced really well.
Very well.
We always know where each other are at. It was just kind of a no-brainer. I didn't really want to play with anyone else, so.
Their journey from childhood friends to college captains is evidence of their dedication and teamwork, and it has been crucial to their success here at MSU Denver. For the Met Report, I'm Brandi Rose. With that ends our sports segment. Be sure to check out our YouTube channels for all the latest sports updates in and around campus. Now let's send it back to Laryss and Noah at the desk.
Thank you so much, Brandi.
Well, we don't have any graduations in the studio right here, but we do have a friend and colleague who's graduating this December, our dear friend Benjamin Butler, aka Vinny. We all love Vinny. I think we can agree on that. One thing that I will definitely miss about him is him coming in, not doing any work, and then name dropping some random person that he grew up with in Chicago and asking me if I know them, which of course I never do. It's a very funny joke.
Yes, Ben has been a dear friend to the office for a really long time, and we wish him the best of luck after college.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's all we have for you today.
Be sure to check out more of our content at mymetmedia.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with our broadcasts.
From all of us at the Met Report, thank you for joining us today. I'm Laryss Rodriguez.
And I'm Noah Block. Until next time, have a great day.